Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make these very pretty high waist circular shorts, also called flared shorts, and they come with slash pockets and a zipper at the back. So if you're interested in this, make sure to watch until the end. Alright, let's get right into the video. For starters, I used less than 2 yards of fabric, and also we're going to be needing only 3 measurements: the waist and hip circumference and then the full length. As you can see, I folded 2 yards of fabric into two, right sides facing each other, and I'll be starting my drafting on the open end. This other side is on fold. For this outfit, I'm going to be cutting the back and the front together, and like I told you, I'll be starting from this open side. Starting from this side, I'm going to be going in by my back crotch measurements, which is 4 inches in this case. I'll just mark it like that and draw a line. And then on this other side, I'm going to be marking my front crotch measurements, which is 3 inches in this case. Then I'll be drawing 2 lines just like that. Meanwhile, as you can see on the screen, I've left for you the formulas that I used to get my front crotch extension and my back crotch extension. And the 2 extension formulas are specifically for these circular pants. So like I told you, this part is for the front crotch, which is 3 inches, and then this part is for the back crotch, which is 4 inches. Next thing is we shall be getting our waist circumference. Mine is 29 inches, and then we're going to divide that by 3. In my case, 29 divided by 3 gives me 9.7. So I'll go ahead and mark it just like you see in the video. And the measurements are all starting from that corner where the 2 lines meet. So yes, I'll just go ahead and mark my points all around like that. And then the next thing is we shall just draw a curve. You'll then go ahead and measure that curve, and it should be equal to half of your waist measurements plus 1 inch of sewing allowance. In my case, half of my waist measurements is 14.5 plus 1 inch, that gives me 15.5 inches. So mine is supposed to be 15.5 inches. If yours is smaller than that, just make sure to lower your curve until you get the right measurement. I'm just going to go ahead and explain again. My waist circumference is 29 inches, so we shall divide that by 2, and that will give me 14.5 inches. And so we shall be adding 1 inch of sewing allowance to that, because we're going to be separating the back and the front along that center line later. And so that 1 inch of sewing allowance will be used to join the 2 pieces. And so that will give me 15.5 inches, and I'll just go ahead and measure this line, and that will give me 15.5 inches, so I can just go ahead. Next thing is we shall be measuring our full length. The full length for my shorts is 16.5 inches, but I'll be adding 0.5 inches of sewing allowance to make it 17 inches. The reason I'm using 0.5 inches is because it's easier to hem a circular outfit with very little sewing allowance. Next thing is, because we're going to be using a waistband that is 1.5 inches, we're going to be deducting that 1.5 inches. So we shall place 1.5 along that line, and then we shall mark our full length, which is 17 inches in this case. So I'll go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other side. I'll just go ahead and mark 17 inches just like that. So you can continue marking it from that curve all the way to the other side, or you can just come to this top corner and then place the tape measure just like that up to that position, and then go ahead and mark it out like that. I went ahead to do that. After you're done with that, just go ahead and draw your curve. Next thing is I'm going to come to those 2 points just like you see, and I'm going to place the tape measure and get the center by doing that, and then I'll mark it there. I'll then go ahead to draw a center line just like that, and that's going to be the line that's separating the back and the front piece. So this side with 4 inches of the crotch depth is going to be the back side. I'll go ahead and mark that. And then the other side with 3 inches is going to be the front. We're then going to measure our crotch depth. My crotch depth is 12 inches. I'm going to be measuring it exactly starting from that point. We won't be taking out the 1.5 inches, and that's because we need more allowance with these pants. So yes, you'll just go ahead and measure it like that. And also on the other side from the waistline, we're going to measure the 12 inches. Make sure not to deduct the 1.5 inches of the waistband, because we need that extra 1.5 inches of allowance so that your crotch is not tight. Next thing is, from that crotch point, we're going to use our right angled ruler, and we're going to just draw a line like that. And we shall repeat the same thing on the other side, just like that. Like I told you, to get the French crotch, We shall be dividing our crotch depth by 4 inches, which gives me 3 inches that I'll mark there. That's for the front crotch. I'm also going to extend that line at the hem, just like that. The next thing is we shall get that 3 inches and then we shall take it down, mark it there, then go inside by 0.5 inches. And then we shall be drawing a line, just like that. We shall then go to the back, and for the back crotch extension, we're going to be using the front crotch plus 1 inch, which gives me 4 inches. And then we shall transfer it to the bottom there. That will be 4 inches minus 0.5 inches, and then we shall mark it there. And then we shall join the points just like that. Then I'll also extend the hemline. Then for the crotch curve, we shall just be drawing a curve like that. And then we shall move to the front and also do the same thing. If you want the measurements, you can use approximately 2.5 inches above that line, just like you can see in the video. Next thing is we're going to add 0.5 inches of sewing allowance. I'll start with the front crotch, just like that, and then also along the waistline, and then also along the back crotch curve. But for the back, we're going to be adding a zipper, so we're going to be using 1.5 inches of zipper allowance altogether. So what I'll do is I'm going to be adding 1 inch to that, just like you're seeing in the video. I'm just going to add 1 inch on top of that, and so that's going to end up being 1.5. I'll just stop the curve around that point and draw it like that. I went down by about 10 inches. Now we can move on to cutting. After we're finished cutting all around, we're then going to cut the center and separate the back from the front, just like you see me doing the video. I know some of you must be wondering why we haven't accounted for the sewing allowance that's going to be in the center. But if you remember in the beginning, while we were drafting the waist measurements, we added 1 inch of sewing allowance to half of the waist measurements. So that 1 inch that we added is the amount of sewing allowance we're going to use in the center there. 0.5 on one side and 0.5 on the other side. I'm just going to go ahead and mark the wrong sides, just like you see me doing the video. On this part of the zipper allowance, I'm going to be marking out that original line, just like you see me doing the video. Remember, it was 1.5 that I added, so I'm just going to go and do that, and then we shall move on to the next step. For the back, I'll be using a blind zipper. I'll choose which one I'm going to use later. Now moving on to the front piece, we're going to be cutting out the pocket pieces. As you can see, these are my pocket pieces. I cut them on fold and while they're right sides facing each other. The measurements are 12 inches along that area and then 13 inches along that area. You can even make yours 15 inches long. So like I told you, we're going to put it on fold and then we're going to notch on both sides just to make sure we have the center. So after aligning your front pieces, just like you see me do in the video, we're going to be attaching the pocket while on fold. We're going to be placing it behind the front piece and just align the side and as well as the tip of the pocket, just like you see in the video. And that's because we're going to be cutting it to match up with the waist curve at the top. Yeah, so right now I'm just shaping the waist curve just like that. And so that's what it should look like. I'll then take it out. Just like you see, this is how it will be placed later on. So right now we're going to open the pieces like this and we're going to create our pocket slant. I'm just going to go ahead and pin the pieces together. Then we shall move on to taking the measurements. I'm going to be using 1 inch at the top and then towards the bottom I'm going to be using 6.5 inches. You can make yours longer if you prefer. Then I'll just draw a straight line joining the 2 points. You can use a curve if you prefer, but this is what I'm doing for this video. So we shall go ahead and cut it out and we're basically done with that part. So now we shall get the pieces and separate them like that. Like I told you, these pieces are still right sides facing each other. So we shall get the 2 pieces, separate them, and make sure you fold it in right sides facing each other, meaning the wrong side is at the outer part. And so even with this side, I'm just going to repeat the same thing. As you can see, the slants are going to be on opposite sides. Also, when you open up the front pieces, the slants are going to be on opposite sides, just like you see in the video. The pocket with the left slant will match with this other side, and then the pocket with the right slant will match with the right side of the pants. I hope you're able to follow what I'm doing. That's what it's going to look like. Next thing we're going to do is we shall just hold it like this, and we shall flip it like this, and then it will be right sides facing each other. And then we're going to just sew the two slants together just like that by 1/4 inch. And we shall repeat the same process this sides, right sides facing each other. Then we shall join the two slants and sew it together with 1/4 inch. At this point, I've already finished doing that. As you can see, I joined the two pieces. Like I told you, it has to be right sides facing each other. Next thing is we're going to be notching that slant just to take care of any sort of curve that could have been created and create more ease when we flip it to the other side. Just follow what I'm doing. As you can see, I'm flipping it to the other side and closing off the raw edges. So what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch. Make sure that the pocket piece is pushed to the back side to the point that you can't fully see it from the right side. Then you'll top stitch in that position. Just make sure you can't see it on the right side. As you can see on this other piece, I already finished doing that. That's what it should look like on the right side. You shouldn't be able to see the bottom piece. So after you're done with top stitching, in this case, we shall then get the other piece, and then we shall put it back on fold using those notch points that we created, and then we shall just push it to the other side like that. As you can see, the pieces are coming together. The next thing we shall be doing is we shall be sewing the top part in place, just like you see me doing. I'm just pinning it together. And then also on this other side, we shall be stitching it down. But before we stitch down the side, we're going to first open the back part, just like you see me doing the video. And then we shall close it off like this and also overlock the raw edges of that part. And then after we're done, we shall then flip it back like this and then close off that part. This is how the back should look. So stitch that part, overlock, and then when you flip it back, just stitch that end. And this is what it should look like when you're done. As you can see, I've already finished overlocking and closing off that part. And then also on this side, I stitched down both the top and the side. So now it's one piece, and as you can see, the pocket is created. That's what both of them are going to look like. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be placing them in this position, and I should have done this earlier, but I want to shape the waistline and lower it a bit by 0.5 inches. So we're going to place the pieces right sides facing each other, and then from the part where the crotch curve is, which is the center of the pieces, we're going to go down by 0.5 inches, and then from the center there we're going to just draw a small curve like that. And then we're going to be cutting that out. We should have done this while drafting actually, but yeah, I'm just showing you now. And also this is not compulsory, but yeah, that's what it should look like. Now next thing is we're going to go back and we shall stitch those pieces back in place, and then we shall then place it back right sides facing each other, and then we shall be stitching the center by 0.5 inches of sewing allowance and leave 1 inch open at the bottom. At this point, I've already finished attaching the pieces and I left 1 inch open at the bottom. So this is what it's looking like. Just go and open the seams like this and press it with a flat iron. We're now going to move on to the back pieces. By the way, as you can see, I overlocked the pieces separately on both sides. Anyways, we shall place them right sides facing each other, and then the only difference for here is using 1.5 inches. We shall stitch using temporary stitches up to that point. We use temporary stitches because that's the zipper allowance, and we shall be taking them out. And then starting at that point, using 0.5 inches of sewing allowance and permanent stitches, we shall stitch up to the bottom of the crotch and leave 1 inch open. In this next clip, I'm just showing you the distance I used for the temporary stitches, 8.5 inches, meaning that's how low the zipper is going to be. At this point, I'm already done with that. That's what it's going to be looking like. Now we're going to move on to the next thing. We shall open it up like this, and then we shall open the seams and iron them with a flat iron. At this point, I'm already done with that. As you can see, I've also done the same for the front piece. I pressed all the seams open. Now, like I told you, we are going to take out the temporary stitches, so I'll just be doing that. Like I told you earlier, the final measurement I used for the temporary stitches was 8.5. It might look less now, but that's the final measurement I used when I was installing my zipper. So now we're going to move on to taking care of the waistband. We shall start by taking that measurement. Mine is 9 inches, as you can see. So we'll be creating 2 pieces for the back part, and then for the front, I took my measurement, which turned out to be 16.5 inches. And so I'll be creating the pieces. As you can see at this point, I had already cut them out. For the back, we have 2 separate pieces that will be attached like that. And so on fold, it's 2 inches wide, 1.5 inches will be for my waistband, and 0.5 inches for the sewing allowance. When we open it up, it will be 4 inches wide. I also cut out a soft, stiff interfacing that I'll be attaching on one side of the waistband. As you can see, the front piece is also done. That's what it's looking like. I also cut out a soft interfacing for it. And so we're going to start by attaching that soft interfacing to one side and pressing it with a flat iron. As you can see at this point, I've done it for all the pieces, and I've also ironed the pieces on fold. Next thing is we're going to attach the pieces. We shall start with the front part. Now, the part of the waistband that has the soft interfacing is going to be attached to the right side of the shorts, and then the part that doesn't have the soft interfacing will be attached to the wrong side of the shorts. So as you can see, I'm just positioning them like that, and then I'll be stitching with 0.5 inches of sewing allowance. I'll repeat the same process for these as well. Attach the wrong side to the part that doesn't have the stiff interfacing, and then we shall do that. Same goes for this side. We shall attach this to the wrong side of the fabric, just like you see in the video. At this point, I'm already done with that. So we shall flip it to the right side. Make sure you press with a flat iron, and then we're going to put it back on fold like this, and then we shall close it off, just like you see in the video, using 0.5 inches of sewing allowance and top stitch. At this point, I've already finished doing all of that for the front and the back pieces, just like you can see in the video. And so what we shall do is we shall press it with a flat iron and also put the zipper allowance back on fold and press it. That's what it should look like. This next part is optional, but I'm going to be shaping the waistband. I'll put the pieces back on fold like that, and then after that I'll be using the side seam of the main piece, and I'll be creating a line just like that. And then I'll be cutting off that extra piece, just like you see in the video. So we shall repeat the same thing for the front and just cut off that extra piece, and that's it. But that's very optional. This is what I wanted to achieve. Anyways, moving on, we're going to get these 2 pieces right sides facing each other, and we shall align the pieces, and then we shall be joining the side seams by 0.5 inches of sewing allowance. At this point, I'm already done with that. Make sure to open your seams and press them with a flat iron. Then we shall go to the bottom and we shall pick those 2 different sides, just like you see me doing the video. We shall align the pieces, get one side and join them together, and then also get the other side and then join it together using 0.5 inches of sewing allowance. After doing that, we shall then open it up like this, and then we shall be closing off that hole in the center. We shall open the seams on both sides, just like you see me doing the video, and then we shall close it off. At this point, as you can see, I'm already done. You'll just open up the seams like that and then press with a flat iron. And now we're going to move on to hemming. Make sure to hold it by 1/4 inch and fold it twice. And after you're done with that, we shall just stitch it all the way around. The last thing we'll be doing is attaching our zipper. I realized that the shorter zipper was too short, so I decided to go for the longer zipper. Make sure that you double stitch at the bottom of the opening of your zipper. Also, the total distance of my opening, including the waistband, was 9.5. Before you attach the zipper, just try to put on the shorts as it is and make sure that your hips can be able to pass through. So yes, at this point, I've already finished attaching my zipper. I have videos out on how to attach a blind zipper. Also, my hem is done. As you can see, it's very neat. When you use very little sewing allowance for the hemline, when you're dealing with circular hems, it always turns out very neat. Anyways, that's it for the video, guys. If the video was helpful, make sure to leave a like and a comment. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're interested in such content, and don't forget to hit the notification bell as well so that you get notified each time I post. Alright guys, thanks for watching and see you in the next video.